We're the Wildlanders Off Grid, a family homesteading in remote, rural Portugal. We left our city lives behind to connect with nature and live a more sustainable lifestyle. From growing our own food to learning how to build our own tiny house. Follow our journey as we build a new life for ourselves. Back to the Wildlands, where we're on week 5
and day 20
of our 40-day homesteading challenge. So today we're back in the cabin and we're going to finish the stairs. Before we do that, let's have a quick look back at last week and see what we achieved. So we got our new roof on and our flue fitted up at the shade house. That was a game changer, and a lot of you have been saying that you hope our Halloween party went well. And how did it go? How did it go?
It was fab. Really fun. Yeah,
we had about 28 people came, so it was super busy and a lot of fun. And then also last week we finished planting the trees ahead of the deadline, so they're in before frost. And then next job down in the nursery, when we're back down there later, hopefully today or tomorrow, we can get bananas planted.
Yes, and some of the herbaceous.
Yep.
And then it's nearly time to wrap them in fleece.
So that's all very exciting, so stay tuned. But now we're finally back in the cabin, and I think actually after promising it for 3 episodes we are going to get the stairs finished. What do you think?
I don't see why not. So the bottom step is done, the winder step is done, the uprights are done. They're not quite finished being sanded, but that won't stop us from finishing the stairs. I'll come back to the sanding. The stringers, which are the 2 diagonals, are cut. So all we have to do, and it's a big all, is measure the gap. We're going to attach the stringers, and then we have to measure the gap for each individual step, and then cut them, and then fit them. And then we will have a staircase. But it won't be quite like that, no, because we're not entirely certain, because it's so very steep. There's a fine line between making a staircase and making a ladder, and it has to do with the way that the steps are. Usually each step is before and after each one, like this, and our ones are going to be kind of above each other a little bit. So yeah, there'll be a little bit head scratching, but I'm still confident we can get it done. We've got all day.
Yep, and then also worth pointing out, we have mentioned it before, we've never ever built stairs before of any description, so it seems fairly easy and logical until you actually go ahead to do it. So the stringers, what I've got is a bit of a chicken and egg scenario, because we've got to work out the stair height like Missy just said, and then I've got to drill the holes, but I've got to pre-drill them for the whole stringer, and then we've got to make sure that obviously if the left and the right stringers are a couple of millimetres different for some reason, due to it being wood and so on, then we've got to make sure that each stair is flat. So it's going to be a challenge. Step to go! So good news, the stairs are done. Yay!
But they're not 100% finished, are they?
No. So the next jobs to do is these holes that we countersunk. Got to sand around them, get these marks off, sand the edges, fill all the screw heads, And then we've got what I'm calling noggins, which are these, and that's going to go on the back underneath the stair as an additional support. And these ones are going to be screwed and glued.
Yes.
And we've beveled them both sides, so the back is at the same angle as the stringer, and the front is at the same angle as the stringer, but just for show on the front to make it look nice.
Yeah, and we've gone for those because I'm not 100% satisfied with how safe it is, because each step at the moment is screwed in with 6 screws. So that sounds pretty good, but it's going to have your weight on it loads, and I just thought if there was a different bit of wood underneath that was glued and screwed onto the sides, then the top bit of wood is resting on that before it's resting on the 6 screws. So
yeah, so
extra secure.
If the screw's sheared, step would break, roots would fall off. Whereas with these, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've got to make 12 of these.
And then I have to finish sanding the outsides of these, and then it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the widgets are going on the bottom of the stairs here, all the way up. So it's 12 widgets, 6 stairs, just to give them an extra bit of bracing, as Missy said earlier, in case any of these or all of these screws were to fail and the stair could come down with the widget. It not happen. Good job. So that's it, the stairs are finished. There's just a little bit of sanding to do. All 12 noggins are on. They're beveled at the back, so that if we want to, we could block the back in with one single piece of birch ply or pine ply, so that it looks nice. And Rosie also wants the front shelved out, and we've got some live edge cork to make shelves for here. So we're going to have a look and see what that looks like and whether we want to box the back in. And I think now, very exciting, we're going to start clearing the toilet area, ready for our 5-day toilet challenge. Morning, it's another day on the Wildlands and another day in our 40-day challenge, and today actually marks the halfway point at the beginning of day 21 out of our 40 days, and one of the challenges is our 5-day toilet building challenge. So this rather attractive area here has been an eyesore for some time on the Wildlands. What we have under there is about 150 pallets. What we have here is the remnants of our first cabin build. Those of you that have watched us for a couple of years remember this extended out to under where the pallets are there, and we've dismantled it partly. So now what I've got to do today is clear this area, because this is where our toilet is going. We're having a long drop compost toilet, so you'll note that I'm on stilts. I'm about a foot off the ground, but if I go towards the back here, we have a different terrace that's lower. That's about 4 foot, maybe a little bit less lower. So the idea is that the front of the toilet block will be on the higher terrace, the back will be on the lower terrace, meaning that we can have our long drop composting toilet dropping down to the lower level. So what I've got to do today is to strip off this floor, and we'll probably use that at a later date. We have more floor under this tarp here, and then we're making what we've decided to do is we've decided to make a very small single toilet block, which is going to go here. So it's going to be about 1.2 meters by 1.2 meters, and that's basically the width of the 4 spare chunks of OSB that we've got left over from Rosie's cabin. Those 4 bits are going to form the outside walls, so it's going to be a small building, 1.2 by 1.2. And then at a later date here next to it we will have a bathroom and also some kind of wood store and shed area. And then originally our cabin, so many things to build, was going to be in this area here. So as you can see, it's a bit like a building site. So the first job is to get rid of this structure, and then as we build the new structure, because we're going to shingle the outside in pallet wood for a rustic but nice look, we'll get rid of and use most of the pallets there. There's a lot of broken pallets as well, you can see them lying around. All of that wood can be used for shingling, be it for the walls or the roof, or for making furniture, and anything that's broken and rotten we'll cut up and use as kindling on the fire, so nothing gets wasted. So let's get clearing. So that's the wood off the top. So I think realistically we can't use any of the old structure. So basically you've got the 2 joists that were repaired, so they're not structurally sound, particularly as the joins are in mid-air, not supported underneath, so there's the risk of collapse. There's also not enough joists, and it's in the wrong situ. So I'm going to remove these 3 joists going that way, and then I'm going to work out where the toilet is going to be and then we can see where we've got to dig holes. And then I'm not going to do too much clearing, because as we build it, we'll be using materials to clear it. But I mean, this area really does look pretty disgusting, even though I say so myself. It's all part of the process eventually, because we've got our new nursery garden there, and Rose's cabin there, and our dome, which I haven't shown you, that we built a couple of months ago over there. We will clear all this area. We have been threatening to landscape the reservoir since it went in, but we haven't done that either. Just not enough hours in the day, but at some point that'll be landscaped too. So the whole of this area will eventually look lovely. Also planning to plant bananas here and have this all part of the nursery garden, with the toilet in a scenic area with the window looking out onto the plants. So it's all very exciting. Right, so that's the toilet area roughly cleared, leaving the 2 original stilts at the front, 2 at the back, and 1 in the middle. So possibly we need to just take all the stilts out and start again. So I've been and audited the wood that we have. So if you remember from when we talked about the toilet build, we're basically using only things that we have in stock and available on the Wildlands. So it's going to be a budget build. So we've got lots of bits of joists left from the cabin build, so I've measured all those and audited those. And then these original joists, which are not strong enough to hold the structure up, we're going to use for the walls. We've got loads of those here, all a bit messy, different lengths, but we can get by with those. We might not have enough to build all the walls, but we do have some more of this timber also from the cabin build down there behind the cabin. So I'm confident, I'm hoping that we've got enough wood to get the frame up. So now what I'm deciding is, if the toilet is a maximum of 125 centimetres square, that being front to back and left to right, then this structure wants to be 125 wide and 125 deep. However, I'm contemplating having a veranda kind of thing on the front, and or going all the way back to where the existing joists are, flooring that out. Not sure what the point of that would be. Kind of thinking storage, but then if we've got to have barrels inside for long drop, and Missy is suggesting that we have 2 toilets. So you use 1 toilet until the first barrel is full, and then you move over to the second toilet until the second barrel is full, by which time the first barrel has composted enough to go and be emptied on the land to compost further. So that still requires some thought. So we'll explain the logic of composting toilet and long drop toilets another time for you, but a short version is you do your number 2 on the toilet, and your urine or your wee is separated. So your urine goes either into a reciprocal that you collect it in, or it goes down a pipe into an IBC or something like that. We want to collect it to use for our garden, so we don't want massive amounts to accumulate, because the longer you store it, the more it is not suitable for watering your garden. So we want fresh pee, less than a week old, which we'll then collect, we'll dilute it 10 to 1 or 20 to 1, use it to water the non-salad plants in the nursery garden, so anything perennial, trees and so on we can use. So we have got a lot of thoughts to do there. So maybe it would just make sense to have a 125 by 125 structure with the back end hanging out here, and get rid of all of it. I'm going to have to talk to Missy and see what she thinks. Right, so off camera I have designed the toilet. I will show you. So let's just pop these 2 barrels down here. So for composting, as I mentioned earlier, you've got to separate your wees and your poos. So these barrels are going to collect our number 2s. So we've got to work out where they're going to be. So that's kind of where they're going to be. So this is completely in the wrong place. So it means we're going to have to re-dig the uprights for these. I'm not convinced they were cemented in anyway, but never mind. So this will be where the toilet is on the base. with 2 holes, so we have 2 toilets like I mentioned earlier. So for example, toilet number 1, we'll use that for 3 or 6 months, however long it takes. So it's an arbitrary figure because I don't know the answer. However long it takes for this barrel to fill up with poo, and then you close that one off and you move over to barrel number 2. So let's say it's 6 months. So what will happen in this barrel, you'll have a hole in the top with a pipe that goes to the bottom of your toilet, and the same on this one, and then a second hole with a long pipe that goes up above the ceiling, which lets out the smell, and you have a fan to suck that in with an insect guard so the flies can't get in. And then inside you have a lid without a gap, so instead of having a toilet with lid with little feet, it sits flush, again to stop the flies. So then you come in, you go to the toilet, your wee collects in the wee reciprocal or goes off down a pipe to a banana circle, which was what we were planning originally. Still think that may be a possibility, but we haven't decided. And then the banana circle, like our banana circle in the food forest, will filter out and use the urine for nitrogen, i.e. fertiliser. So that deals with that in a environmental and good way. And then the poo we collect and we compost it for 6 months in these barrels, and then swap over to the other one, by which time, by the time the second barrel is full, the first barrel has sat here for the arbitrary potentially 6 months and is partially composted. That can then be removed, taken to a compost heap to further compost for another 6 months or so. So after a year, maybe less, maybe more, depending on the weather conditions and other factors, that poo that's composted has become compost and we can use it in the garden. So we wouldn't use it on vegetables that we're going to eat, but we would use it on trees and herbaceous perennials and medicinal plants that you're not going to eat directly, and it's completely safe. Human manure used to be called the black gold, so I'm sure some of you are going, oh my god, that's disgusting, how can you do that? Well, it's quite a good practice, and it was done for thousands of years, and it's only in the recent past that we've been conditioned into thinking that our own waste is dirty somehow and unclean, and that you require big sewage facilities. And those of you that watch the news will know about all the problems with our sewage waste untreated going into the sea and into our rivers and polluting. This is far more environmentally friendly, and when you don't mix your urine and your poo, you have a different bacterial process, and it's the mixture of the two, the liquid and the solids, that causes most of the smells and unpleasantries. So we've had a compost toilet in our van for 6 years, no problems at all. The only thing is there, we've been collecting our waste, but we've not been composting the poo, so a bit of a waste of a very valuable resource. So going forward, that's not going to be the case. We're definitely going to utilise all our waste products in our gardens to grow bigger and better plants. Exciting afternoon for me because I'm back in the nursery and I've got a wheelbarrow full of bananas, my favourite plants of all. I've got 7 in the wheelbarrow, they're all different, and they're going to go in this bed. I'm going to plant them at least 1.5 metres apart, probably 2, haven't decided yet. I'm going to remeasure the bed and see what I can fit in. And I've got multiple objectives here. So firstly, when the bananas are in the ground, I've got to get them in today because they need to have settled in the ground before the first frosts, which was due next week, but I think it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks. And then before the frosts, I'm going to chop the leaves off and I'm going to wrap them, which I'll show you how and why we do that in a future video. But for today, so we're going to plant them in the ground, and it's kind of an experiment. So although they're going to be in a straight line and we've got straightish beds, we're not really doing neat and ordered beds. What we're doing is we're creating nursery beds for our plant nursery business. So the bananas are going to have a multifaceted role. The first one is they're in the ground and we're doing an experiment to see which ones survive the 40-degree+ summers and the -7 centigrade winters, and which ones ultimately provide us with fruit or don't fruit. Plus, also by getting very big in the ground, they'll provide us with biomass. So we'll chop the leaves off as they are ready to be replaced, and then we'll put them in our new compost, which is going to be built up behind the camera. So that's a great resource to create compost for the rest of the nursery bed. And then ultimately, once they've settled in the ground, next spring onwards, they'll start throwing up pups, which will propagate out of the ground, put them in pots, and then ultimately those will also be sold in the nursery at a later date as well. So they've got like a multi-role, and then also as they get bigger next spring onwards, they will provide lots of shade for the plants that we're going to plant underneath them, so lots of other herbaceous plants. It's very exciting. So I'm going to arrange them. I'll tell you what the bananas are as we go, so that you can see, and then as time goes on in the future we can monitor their success and or failure and or ability to provide us with lots of lovely bananas to eat. So I'm not going to plant them in any particular order. Right, so I've had a cold beer and I've decided to move this one that way, because I think it's going to be too close to the path. So I'm going to move everything half a metre away from the path on the trunk, and I've decided to move them back so that the most of the shade is not on the path and it's on the border here and on the border at the back. So I'm going to move that up there. I'm going to start with a 1 metre gap from the trunk, and then I'm going to go 1.5 metres trunk to trunk. There we go, all planted. We've got 9 bananas in the ground, 8 different types as part of our banana experiment to see how they deal with the excessive heat and the cold. And then in a couple of weeks we'll wrap them, which, as I said earlier, I'll do a separate video and I'll show you how we do that and what we need to do to protect them in the winter. So I'll just give you the types that we're experimenting with, and some of these we were recommended by people online and subscribers as to which were the best to grow in the area. So we shall see next year what does the best and what provides us with bananas to eat. So the first one is a Musa dwarf Orinoco, which is more of a plantain than a banana, but all obviously of the same family, Musa family. And the second one, this is quite an interesting one. This one is an unknown cultivar, and it was traded with us by one of our nursery customers who's already had it fruiting in the area, and she got it off a local farmer who didn't know what type it was, but he had been fruiting it for some years. So as I don't know what it's called, I've named it after the lady that swapped it with me, so I've called that Jenny's Hybrid, and we'll see what that does, but we know for sure that that fruits. Banana number 3 is a Velnhella, which is related to the Abyssinian Reds that I've got growing in the food forest. So that should get very, very big ultimately, and we'll have pinky red bananas. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that fruits. Banana number 4 is a Musa Hajere, and number 5 in this row is Musa Helen's Hybrid, which has got lovely red markings or variegations on the leaf, so that's lovely. And then at the next row up I've planted another 4, of which 3 are part of the experiment, which I didn't show the planting of. So banana number 6 here on the end is Musa Madeira, which is a fruiting banana grown in Madeira for its lovely sweet fruits that you can buy in the supermarket sometimes. So that's interesting. Used in baking chocolate banana cake in Portugal as well. So that should do well, hopefully. Banana number 7 is another dwarf Orinoco. So that is the duplicate with the one at the front down there. But that's supposed to do very well here and had a gap. So I thought I'd put it in the ground, see if I can get her to drop me some pups to propagate next year. Banana number 8 is a blue Java, a famous banana because it's exceptionally hard to source, very, very expensive to buy. And I bought one, and this is one of her pups. So this pup's in the ground. Hopefully she'll send out more pups so that I can propagate them and sell them on next year. And final, number 9 banana is a Musa Special Malborg. Another beautiful banana. So there we go, 9 bananas planted, 8 in the experiment. I'll keep you up to date on what is happening and how big they get. Obviously they're about to go dormant through the winter once they're wrapped, and we'll unwrap them probably as late as May, and that's when they'll do a lot. They're growing, but they're in the ground now and they can go dormant. So another job completed in our 40-day challenge, so very exciting. So here the next job is to plant in the herbaceous perennials, which are a ground cover. So we'll do that on another day in our 40-day homesteading challenge. So now we're going back into the cabin with Missy, who's been doing a lot of sanding.
The stairs are finished. Hooray, hooray. It's so joyous to be able to say, because we've been working on them on and off for quite a long time now. I've spent the last 4 hours sanding the stairs. I've gone over every single surface, every single bit of wood that's to do with the stair build. I've taken off all of the edges so there's not a sharp corner to be found. It's really smooth on your hands. I've taken off all of the knots, the roughness, the stains of the wood. It's looking really, really pucker now. I'm so pleased with it. And the idea was that when Rosie's going up and down here, she'll probably hold on to these. She might hold on to these as she goes up, and we don't want any splinters or anything like that. No sharp edges. So I'm pleased, it all feels silky smooth. The next things that we're thinking about with the staircase is potentially removing these uprights at the back, because they don't actually serve any purpose. We thought that they would, but they don't. It might look a bit more aesthetically pleasing if we take them out. And also Rosie would like a shelving unit behind the stairs, possibly blocked in at the back, so that you can get to the shelves from either side. So that's a project for another day. For now, the stairs are done. You can go up and down on them. They feel totally secure, very, very solid. Really happy with that. And that concludes our working week with the start of the toilet build, or the outhouse compost toilet. Next week, that's supposed to be our 5-day challenge, and I think we can probably get it done in time. And then Dom's been doing some planting. I've got some seeds in the garden, and we've done a whole bunch of other little niggles here and there. So the end of a successful week, I think. I'd like to say thanks very much for watching. Thanks for following along on all the different platforms that we have. Thank you very much for your comments. They really do cheer us up and cheer us on. It's nice to see so many people following along with us. So again, thanks very much for watching. Can't wait to see what you think of our latest progress. Bye.